Warm greetings. Welcome to today's session of Monday Munching and Musing with Women for Water. This session is conducted with the support of Water Resource Council of the Women Chamber of Commerce and Industry, which is Wiki Water Resource Council, in collaboration with W4W Foundation and media partner Counterview. My name is Mansi Bal Bhargav, and I'm currently holding the position of National President of the Wiki Water Resource Council. And I'm joined today by none other than the person who had actually started the Water Resource Council of the Wiki. So I'm joined today by Dr. Bhakti Devi, who is my guest to discuss Women for Water and understand how women perform and what kind of opportunities and challenges are there. So Bhakti, welcome to you on this session. You are kind of parent to the Wiki Water Resource Council, but after you, I have taken it further to beyond Wiki Water Resource Council and talk about more women in the profession. So I'm sure you are very happy with the way things are going.
Absolutely. First of all, namaste to all. And thank you, Mansi, for this opportunity. It's been a while. We are always busy in our own lives, and it's a good way to actually catch up live. and I must say, congratulations to way you and your team are taking under your leadership are taking Wiki, the Water Resource Council. Very good. A lot of engagement. You have brought in a lot of women together, and it's I'm very happy to see that. And yes, it is only going to get better from here. I am confident about that. And we really needed your kind of zeal and your networking ability, and to bring players from research and community and industry is really good. So that is exactly what we needed, and you're doing a fantastic job. Thank you. We should all thank you for it.
Thank you for your support and encouragement. And you have been tracking it, how it's going on, and especially going beyond and looking at how women are doing in the water sector.
Absolutely.
Because this discussion is focused on women, as in the life of the woman in water sector. So water becomes a backdrop. But the focus is on Bhakti being the individual, the woman in this society, in this patriarchal society, in this society where water decisions are mainly manly, and in this society where women are more on the vulnerable side. But still, there are many women who are really doing very good in the leadership position, and you are one of those examples. So seeing Bhakti as an individual, as a girl, as a woman, I would like to start this conversation with you. As in, please share with us, when did water get into your head? As in, when did you start working in the water sector, and how was it?
Okay, so I have been in a way quite lucky because, often when we get this as part of our, education and profession, then it is so easy to get into water because that's what everything is carved out. And I really feel that, as I'm kept working in the profession, and I think it became a passion when I started to, I moved, of course, just to give you a brief background, I trained as a civil engineer in bachelor's degree, then I went on to do my master's in environmental, and that's where my first exposure to water happened, because we had subjects on wastewater engineering, water engineering, so relating to pollution, treatment of pollution and water quality treatment, etc. So that was the beginning. And I enjoyed that, but it still at that point was not a passion because it was mainly a master's degree. And then I migrated to Australia in 93, 94, where it was for me an opportunity to, explore a new world. I took it on myself as if I'm on a sabbatical, and I want to explore the water industry in Australia. So I started to explore, and I worked there also as an engineer for a little while. Then Sydney Olympics in 2000 happened, where was happening, and leading to the Olympics, Australian government was promoting sustainability as a model in every aspect of all the infrastructure they were building for the Olympics. So what happened is water was, of course, one of the main showcasing feature. And I got involved in one of the projects there. And I think that's where it kind of all came together for me, that how much the whole sustainability of water. Earlier, it was all about, cleaning the environment, cleaning, the wastewater pollution as an engineer. But then when I joined the team working on, although it was a bit of a technical modeling exercise, but I was able to see the vision, how they had thought about water as an integrated or stormwater waste for all types of water coming together and, given appropriate treatment fit for purpose and being, distributed across different uses. And that is where I think I kind of got fascinated. And the whole idea of sustainability got seeded in my head. And then on, from that was the point, I would say, when it actually opened my eyes to think that it is something very interesting, very engaging, and very critical for the future of, the environment. So
your profession and passion actually converged from
yes,
that point, I must say.
Absolutely. And it went on. The next thing happened after the Olympics project is because the project finished and I was applying for another job, then a think tank group in Sydney put out an ad for an engineer. And I didn't know exactly what the think tank was doing. I just applied because they want an engineer. And my resume looked good because I had done my Olympics project. So then only after joining, I entered this new world. And what that think tank group was doing is doing a lot of evidence-based water strategies and water planning. They were building capacity of utilities and municipalities on what does sustainability mean for a policy or for a municipality, for a water utility. And the way they were doing it is through evidence-based, business case. And it was a new world for me because here I was previous to that, just engineer, modeling, treatment, right? And then this world of where all the decisions happen, almost the engine of where the changes get effected. Yes, and then only someone decides that we need to have a treatment plant. So I was very fascinated, and I was still using my skill as an engineer to crunch the numbers. So I was the one crunching the numbers on the evidence collected. And I was watching all this, that it was getting fed to the utilities to say, here's the evidence why you should invest hundreds of millions of dollars over 10 years period so that you can go and change the taps of the customers, because it will make business case for you. I couldn't understand as an engineer, if a utility is going to, reduce the water for the customers where they get the revenue from, how can that make a business case? But that's what it is. And
it works.
The job, I was learning all this. So that another world for me, basically.
Yeah. I understand from there you came back here, and that is when we also met in Bangalore first time. But from there on, I'm also following your work because you are quite inspiring there. Just trying to understand with my next question on you, what are the kind of activities you are currently engaged with? I mean,
sure. So I think
you do range of activities, but just to get an idea for people.
if you go through the whole range of activities, it feels like what is she doing, But therefore, I want to start with a bit of a context to what I am doing in India and why I came here. So the context is that just before what kind of triggered for me to make a decision to relocate to India to specifically work on water. That was because once after after a long journey with the think tank group, I went on to do my PhD, and then I got an opportunity to work for the mayor of City of Sydney, which is a municipality, who was very ambitious to wanting to create a decentralized water master plan, which is a community-based approach. And I got the job because I was kind of, all that work I had done with the municipalities was really helpful to take the job. But it was for the first time I was working from the inside to see what a municipality can do rather than helping them from outside and a demo project. But here she was saying, we want to do the whole City of Sydney. And that was quite exciting, also nerve-wracking. But then that whole 3-4 years I spent in City of Sydney gave me a lot of confidence because I was able to see what is possible by at a local level when you involve the community, when you engage with the community. Especially I was able to do only because the leadership put a lot of trust in my expertise and passion. And it was all happening, and that really stuck with me. that, there is so much potential which I hadn't even understood while working with other municipalities from the outside as a, just capacity building demo. But this, when you do the whole scale of possibility, that is when the bug, I say that I got the bug that I have to do this community-based decentralized is the way to go for the future. And that's what the think tank group was also promoting. And then after a few years, even though I worked for Sydney Water, I was not satisfied because not much was happening. And that's when I thought that, maybe what I should do is, this bug is bothering me. I should actually go and experiment this in India because we need it there. And I am in a life stage where I can move, although it was a crazy decision because it was a permanent job with something. But so then when I came back, so that is a context that I came with a vision that how can I first understand the community of, I call them water user groups, because we have to look at different water user groups in different category, right? And then first understand them, understand their challenges in a social way, in a technical way, and then see what is it that you can provide them to make sure that they get empowered to really first understand what is happening with their infrastructure or wherever they are, and then to also help them with what could they do, right? Because normally it's a very technical question that, a consultant can come and give you an assessment and, give you a report and they say that you should do this. But why can we not involve them and make it more participatory? So with that was the framework. And so because I got a chance to start in Bangalore as a start, and a perfect place it was because that was the water stress city. And so the activities, for example, I did initially during the initial phase, first of all, I had to even get people to, allow me to go into the apartment complexes because, you have to tell who you are. And because I had no organization behind me, I was operating as an independent researcher. So what I did was I made a card for myself and I called myself Urban Water Doctor, because I had a PhD in water anyway. So I thought that, and that became very easy to say, I'm urban water doctor and I want to, and then also just to study, people wouldn't let. So I actually took up a distributorship of a rainwater harvesting product called the filter. There's a filter that we have to install. So I thought, why not I actually provide some service. So as I get inquiry for the service, then I can get the foot in the door. So that way I started to, really get into the apartment complexes on the excuse of giving them rainwater harvesting advice, which I did. But I would also give them more than rainwater. But mainly I was trying to understand and collect the information to see what is it that we can do. And I would get asked question that, why would you do it for, apart from the product I was selling, I was offering the other things without any charge. And I was questioned, what is it in it for you? So then I was explaining to them, look, I'm trying to study this so that if we can develop a tool and you can use that to, understand, then I would like to apply for grants so that others can also benefit from it. But unless I prove that there are some few buildings who have benefited, we cannot do that. So I was very fascinated that, if we, in India, we are so very, what should I call, very diligent in terms of getting anybody on board, even if it is for free. We need to know who and why you are doing this, which I found it very interesting. And it's good, in fact, because, I have to be transparent and I wanted to be transparent. So that is the initial activity. And then whatever I developed the tool, I turned it into training so that young people can learn the data we can collect and how we can crunch that data, because I created a model where you can use that to crunch it into and give an understanding of what the building is in terms of its water. For example, if you ask anybody or yourself, the building you are living in or you're working in, how water secure it is, we cannot answer that question.
No.
Right? So how can you help them answer that question to say your water security is, say, out of 10, so many, or it is red, yellow, or green. So I made it into like a traffic light report so that people know exactly where they stand and also on what count they are not better or they are good. So I created some criteria against which I would rate the building based on the data I collected and the analysis we did. So it's like giving them actionable insight. So you can tell. And now, because what I noticed was the building residents were always having challenge of discussing what is it that they need to do. Should they do rainwater harvesting or should they do something else?
Yes.
So I was seeing, and that was helping me to know, okay, if I can give a tool like this which gives a report which they can then decide what they want to do. It is not my decision.
Yes.
It is a decision. So I made it participatory. So the whole principle was it has to be some tool that is transparent. It tells them exactly what data we are collecting. It gives them the result in a very transparent way, and it participates. It says that, you decide how you want to go. What should be a roadmap to become more water secure? So that was what the urban activities entail. Then later on, COVID gave me an opportunity. And anyway, I wanted to study the rural as well, because just like we have developed tools for the urban, we can maybe let me explore what is possible in the rural. And I went on to, study the rural areas as well. So the activities there was, 6 months, I was just, traveling to the villages because there was a project they were doing on Manrega, basically. And that was mainly researching. And of course, over time, then once I developed the tools on the urban and the rural, I created a small, training program just to test. I only tested it with 1 or 2 small number of community members. I didn't get an opportunity to do it, in a bigger way like I did in urban sector. So then I felt, so this was almost 2021. So I started in 2018. So studied the, Bangalore and the city and started to create training around that. And then COVID happened in 2020. So I used the opportunity to go and to the Uttar Pradesh. I spent some time there. So when I came back from there, because COVID also happened there, I then had a chance to reflect, basically, what is it? Because I had not registered a business or a company or an NGO, nothing, because I needed clarity exactly what, because I don't need to create another entity, if I don't have to. But then I got some 2 very crystal, realizations. 2 realizations happened in this whole process. And that because of those realizations, I got inspired that, yes, I felt convinced that, yes, I need to register an NGO under which I can kind of, take this thought process forward. So those 2 realizations basically were, one was that, I was really surprised by this one, that, as a water professional who has worked for that many years, 30 years in the sector, and that too in the sustainability, not just water engineering, right? Even though we have done this, I felt we never acknowledge or recognize, because we focus on water efficiency as a sustainable water management. What should we do? We should become efficient in water. We should recharge, recycle, we should reuse, we should recharge. It's all water, 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 as if water exists in nature in isolation. But that's not true, right? So this was very striking. I said, we never acknowledge that, because in nature, water becomes sustainable because of its relationship with the Jal, Jangal, Jameen, as we nicely call in India. That whole triad is the symbol of the natural water cycle, that the Jal, Jangal, Jameen have intricately related to each other. And because of that relationship, Jal, or the water, is sustained in environment, right? So I felt, why don't we recognize, we may talk about it in a roundabout way or in indirect, but we should actually explicitly acknowledge, if we care about sustainability of water. We can at least acknowledge to say, yes, this development actually broke the natural water cycle because we had to clear the land. And even acknowledging what it does is, it makes you think, how can you offset it? Can you restore it while you, for your purpose, you took it away, but can you do something to make sure that there is replacement of it, right? So same way with the soil, we don't see the relation. It's a continuous relation. So I felt maybe that is one thing we should explicitly talk about in the any NGO I have found. It is about promoting and propagating that awareness. So I call it's from water literacy. I think I've moved to natural water cycle literacy. that the more we become aware and recognize the natural water cycle and the fact that it has got destroyed, and at every scale it can be restored. It is possible that, you think about within your own boundary, what can you do to kind of restore it. So that became one thing. And that's why you find that, the logo reflects that. And also our, tagline is about making our world Sujalam, because I felt very good that, we have always acknowledged the fact that our land is a land of prosperity, symbolized by the fact that we are very water prosperous and vegetation prosperous, right? And the fact that you have to talk about it together, one cannot be without the other, right? So I felt that can be used as a way to convey that it is all about water cycle, not just about water. So if you want to sustain water, you have to do. So that kind of has become our main thing as under the Jal Smruti. And the second realization, the first was the fact that we don't talk about the water cycle, we only focus on water. The second realization was, it came from a few experiences. Like when I was in the rural area, there was a government program which they were about Poshan Vatika, where they were, promoting nutrition, nutritious kitchen garden, like, growing because of, and first time I realized that I came to know that the farmers only eat, especially the subsistence farmers who grow just for selling, and they eat only what they grow. So if they're selling, they're growing, rice and pulse and for the market, that's all they eat. They don't eat anything. They don't grow vegetables. That was a big surprise for me. We think farmers means they can grow anything. They had to be taught to know how to grow kitchen garden, right? So and because they're lacking in nutrition. So this is a beautiful program, Poshan Vatika, and I was going with the people who were, talking to the community, and everywhere they were getting pushback to say, "Pani nahi hai hamare paas, to hum kya ye kitchen garden? How can we maintain it?" And it just made me realize that it's such a beautiful program, and they've made a nice education around it. But they missed the fact that if they can introduce a grey water, how from the kitchen, from the house can be diverted to that. So I added that module for them. But it also made me think that, water actually, although all of us who are, promoting water, we want to say that water is the center of everything, which it is. But in reality, what water plays out as is water is an enabler. It allows you to achieve your objective of health, education, business, right? So water is not it is kind of an invisible enabler. So what that means is that if we want to offer our service to the community, we want to partner with program managers to say, you focus on your nutrition program because that's what you're good at. Allow us to, hold your hand on the water aspect so that otherwise the program becomes failure. If that invisible enabler goes away, the program is a failure. Education also, if the toilet facilities are not good, children don't go to school. So water is a critical enabler, but it cannot mind, because normally education is in their mind or nutrition is in their mind. But then that's why I said that we are here to remind you. The Jal Smruti, the word Jal Smruti comes from the fact that we are here to remind you about water and help you on the water side. Even with the business, they are focused on getting the business, and they assume that water is available and will be there, right? And we can help out. So this became another thing that, water, we would like to think everyone should look upon it as a center, but in practice, it is an enabler. It's an invisible enabler. So let us be empathetic to people but it is such a critical success factor. You cannot get success in any of your social, environmental, or economic programs if you do not look at how water can kill it, or, if you don't pay attention to water, the whole program success can get, killed. So that became a way for us to, think, let's approach and position ourselves like that, rather than, say that we are the center of the world.
Yeah, interesting, because you brought a lot of issues. I will start from the point where you were talking about the mayor of Sydney, and you mentioned that leadership plays an important role, and you have been taking a lot of leadership activities, whether it is training or whether setting up the Water Resource Council and all. But I want to understand from you how do you really see women taking up leadership role, where in India women are also considered as on the vulnerable side in the water sector?
Sure.
But then how do they shoulder responsibility of their self-life? Because the focus of this discussion is woman herself.
Herself,
and yeah. So how do a woman see leadership role? And for example, how does Bhakti looks at leadership, and how does she manages her personal life
Sure.
and her professional life? Because you know, people like us, we can go on and on with water unlimited. We walk, sleep, eat water all the time. But then there is also a personal life, and where you also talked about well-being of others, which also applies to us. How do you manage to really look at you being a water leader as well as you being an individual who also has to take care of our health and well-being? What's this mantra for yourself?
No, very good question, because anything that you do, if we do not have that foundation, I think for me, to talk about my personal experience, I think the world view, how you look at the world is very important to make sense of the world. You need some framework for it. And I happen to have, spent some time spiritual training. We all can have different types of training. I'm not saying that is the one, but that spiritual training gave me an outlook of looking at the world, which allows us to become more stable, emotionally confident in terms of how to make decisions, what should guide your decision. So it's a fundamental question that what type of actions you want to perform, and how do you decide what actions are the right action. For example, the thought, as I said, came to me that I want to go to India, right? Now you can look at it rationally, and you can look at it, how do I know it's a rational thought? Do I follow that thought? Because it looked, I must say, when I look back, this thought came in about 2016. And at that time, it looked impossible, right? But then I still had enough energy to pursue it and persist with it, right? Until I got the foot in the door, so to speak, to get back in India. So I think that energy which says that, be guided, what to do, you ask your heart, and how to do, you ask your mind. The logical brain is very useful to figure out how exactly to execute. But what to execute, that should be determined by what the heart is saying. So that is the rule I follow. It makes my decisions very easy. That, when you're really confused, just, think that, what is your real goal, and keep to that. And then it's a confusion is usually with the methods or something, decision making, and that your mind can utilize. But whether to invest your energy in that, because otherwise you'll be putting the ladder on the wrong wall, so you need to make sure it's on the right wall. So that is one thing that has really helped me. And the second thing, I think one is a little bit out of my own intrinsic nature, but also the training, the spiritual outlook has, given me that capacity and that realization and appreciation that staying happy is extremely important. And instead of looking outward, to know with confidence and faith that being happy is entirely your choice. It's a moment-to-moment choice. And you can always find reasons to be unhappy. You can always find, and in fact, having no reason to be happy is where you want to get to. That be happy first, then everything follows. Rather than, if I do this, I'll be happy. No, it will be first, be happy. Just because you're alive. If you want any reason, I say just because you're alive, that's reason enough to be happy.
More than enough.
More than enough. And then everything can happen. Because that's something I really strictly, believe in and follow. And of course, it can get very philosophical to say, that usually things are kind of predetermined, but we are here to experience the journey. So focus on the journey. Don't worry about that, what iska kya hoga, kal ko kya hoga. To be honest, I have developed, I call it developing a muscle in your brain of feeling secure. Because see, ultimately, we all want to do things that our heart tells us. But where it really stops us is the whole idea, rationality, and also the secure feeling of insecurity and that uncertainty, right? It prevents you. But I have over time developed this muscle by taking small steps in doing things, just following the passion, but not like taking a big leap. Take small steps because that grows your confidence little by little. Because, for example, even to come to India, giving up a job, I started by just 2 weeks visit just to see people. Then it turned into a 2-month assignment. Again, after that, I took a 1-year leave without pay to work for a year. And then I decided, so that gave you enough confidence because you've seen the things. As I said, the mind has to be used for how to do. So instead of just jumping that my heart is saying, so I'm going to just leave everything and come. No, just take small steps. And then we don't even know what will come up, because when I made my first 2 weeks visit, I had nothing. I just said I have to do something. So let me just go and meet random people, 2 weeks with no agenda, no expectation. And that 2 weeks resulted in my 2-month assignment. I wouldn't have imagined. That's why instead of planning too far ahead, just keep doing, live in the present, plan for the next, whatever you can see in the short term. Don't plan for vision hona chahiye. Have the vision, or what is it that you want to do broadly, but not the details. So at least that's the way I have operated so far. It works. But that's the thing that, you enjoy the journey. That allows you to enjoy the journey, and you develop that muscle of security. So I was saying the security muscle gets developed with your experience. And because I feel, I do believe that it is all about the journey. And when you are secure, actually why you should be secure is there is a divine plan looking after everyone. Because we don't have faith in it, we don't, like to leave it like that. But I operate with full faith that as long as I'm engaged in the right thing with the right intent, the divine plan will take care of it. So just have that faith that builds your sense of security. I feel that's what I draw my security from, not from a bank balance, not from any, certificates. It's just the faith that there is someone looking after all of us, not just me. Any of us, if we are operating, when you are operating on the right intent.
Yeah, right intent is also very important, because that also helps in bringing the security in your head.
Absolutely.
That's absolutely, and most of the problems lie there. And that brings me to an interesting question, moving out from Bhakti to talking about leadership, because leadership requires many of the traits which you were already talking about as an individual. But I want to understand from you, we know, both of us know many water professionals in the country. But personally, where I draw the line of leadership is that being water professional, you are in the work, and work is work. But leadership is extra work.
Exactly.
So you may be a very good water professional. I mean, anyone for that matter. That does not necessarily mean that one becomes a leader default. Similarly, one may be very good professional. That does not make the person very good teacher, just like leader. So I just want to understand from you that in water sector, where women have been on the receiving end of, and also the vulnerable gender here, why are we really missing more women leaders in the water sector? Or when I'm saying leader, I really mean more women in the decision-making side of the water sector. There are many professionals now in Wiki Water Resource Council. We are going to actually announce 75 women in the network.
Very good. I think it's
hardcore. Yeah, but then we are still in the country. In this country, we are still less than 1 in 10. So, what is the reason? Why are we not really stepping up from being professional to being leader? What's your take on that?
So my take is, I think I've shared it. Maybe I might have shared in our personal conversations. One of my theory is that, see, in water sector, it has, as you know, we have evolved. Actually, we are now starting to talk about community participation and ownership, etc. But we have evolved from a very utility, asset and infrastructure based, sector, which still it is like that all over the world, not just India, everywhere. So, and of course, that had meant that it was all about engineering the pipes and the pumps and, all that. So which means the entire workforce, if you see in any water utility, given that water is a government, run service, it's still public run service. So which means utility is created and it's all about infrastructure. It's all about making sure water is being supplied safely, consistently. So it becomes, for them, it became all about engineering. And then engineering means, that means you should just comply, make sure there's regulations are there because you're doing public service. So it has to be, compliant. So compliance and engineering. This is what shaped the community of people who are engaged on water. Okay, so this is about the profession. Now, community itself has been disconnected because the whole purpose, the design of the system is how can we just let the people not worry about where the water is.
And we provide water as a system.
And we provide water. They don't need to worry, which is a very good intent, right? And I say it's like unintended consequences. People don't know where the water comes. People don't know where water goes. People don't know how much it takes to treat the water and bring it to the tap.
Yes,
so,
that's a big problem.
Exactly. So
we have distanced the community.
Absolutely. So because of that, so first of all, it's all engineering. On top of that, it therefore became male dominated, given the fact if it's all engineer, then it's all male. So I call it like, double whammy. So the sector has, and three whammies. It's a monopoly. So which means you don't need to innovate. You just need to comply. So everything, all these three factors have together as a sector, it has really made the sector. So it is, therefore the consequence of the monopoly, engineering based, male dominated, and therefore male dominated, right? So therefore this became, so now we have suddenly realized, oh, we need to involve the community, right? So now if you want to do it, it's like, it's not that easy because they have never been involved. Now you want to involve them and you have no competency to know how do they engage with the community.
Engage with the community because the competency is about engineering.
Yes, it's all engineering. So then, and yet we think, community se baat karna to aata hai, because baat karna hai na. It's not baat karna, it's an art, it's a science, right? It's a science. Engagement is a science. So this has, first of all, impacted the way, the social engagement around water. But now, fortunately, because Jal Smruti, we have recently procured training. We do training for Jal Jeevan Mission and Atal Bhujal officers, government officers at different levels and engineers. So we are learning how much these programs have put community at the center in the guidelines. Okay, yeah. The guidelines are the entire program is very well designed, because they have actually given importance to community, even in Atal Bhujal and this. However, what we are finding is with the government officers, they have never done this before. We cannot expect them because given the workload they have to achieve, on top of that, a new competency, it cannot happen, right? The intent is there. That I really applaud that there's an intent, which is fantastic because it was never there. Pan India to have community owned and community, led schemes is fantastic. First time it has happened, and it's such a big scale. In world, it's the biggest program, which is promoting community, centric water supply schemes and groundwater management. So I think in fact, I'm coming from a meeting where I had conducted a meeting engaging with the directors of these programs, where I'm able to give them feedback in terms of, what is it that we are seeing during this, so many training, after conducting so many trainings, some patterns are emerging. We are learning that how hard it is for people to actually engage. They have some provisions, but it doesn't become. But then we also discovered that there are villages, the women are very nicely engaged, and they've created these village water supply sanitation committees, right? And in that, the self-help group, wherever the self-help group women are active, they are playing an amazing part in the water, in the planning inputs and education and awareness. But it is not happening consistently because we have to build a cadre of people on the ground within the government organizations who can be trained on how to communicate these things in a technical and social aspect in a community friendly way. So these are the things that, we have to, but I am very optimistic because of the fact that the programs of such big scale and so much funding has, and it's a life, I reminded, I try to use this when I'm engaging, to remind everyone that it is once in a lifetime you get an opportunity of such a big program happening. So if we can take advantage of that and do the right thing now, then you are set, you've set the wheel in motion. This is a new change that, the whole Jan Andolan, Jal Andolan has to become Jan Andolan. For that, you have to do something innovative. You cannot carry on with the old way of education. Behavior change has to come right at the center of all the, but we don't think about it because we are thinking the old way, we are trying to solve the problem, right? So now, but at least we are getting an opportunity to be in the door and in the camp and say, hey guys, we should do something more and better. This is not good enough. And that's a good, we are getting started. And I think everywhere the realization is there. It's a matter of how much we can execute and get more women. So I have seen, I recently attended a Jal Prahari Samman Samaro, where a young girl from a village in Chhattisgarh, she basically took the lead in getting all her women who were walking 1 or 2 kilometers to get the water, changed the entire situation through her and involving other women and other young people. So there is a lot of leadership potential that you are able to see in the village level. And also the fact that, let us not forget, I think that is another thing that gives me a lot of optimism, is that the village Gram Panchayat is such a democratic body that we have. We still have that, the Panchayati Raj system gives a autonomous democratic, model where as long as the leadership is developed in the community, they can make the most of it, because that model is only as good and as bad as the community's capacity. If it is the community is not good enough, then the model also doesn't work. But the good thing is you can work on creating that leadership. So our Jal Smruti, therefore, our aim is that we want to create a cadre of people who can be trained on these science-based education about their watershed, about the problems of water, give them the scientific understanding and scientific understanding of the solution, and have the faith that when community is deeply engaged and deeply educated, then they will turn things around. Take charge. That faith has to be there. If you don't have that faith, nothing will happen. But I have that faith, and we, want to have, because there are evidences, there are very good work people have done in Maharashtra. Absolutely. That it is possible to do. So why shouldn't we take, courage from that and build on that faith?
Absolutely. So coming to the question related to what you just mentioned now, that the rural areas have those activities and they are more potential. How do you see urban community here when we talk about women leadership? I mean, there are many women now who are into environment sector, water sector and all. Do you think networks like Wiki Water Resource Council or any other network for that matter can really be useful to appreciate and acknowledge the work which women professionals are doing? Because many a times women professionals are not taking that extra step of leadership, because as I mentioned, professionalism is one part of it, but leadership is an additional step.
Very true.
So do you think networks can be a useful method or approach to really acknowledge and appreciate women professionals in the urban sector? Because we don't see such things happening more in the urban setups,
Absolutely. I think there's no doubt, because in fact, that was the reason I felt that we should use the network as a means to, galvanize all the women who are already working. First of all, we need to know who we are with each other, right? And come together. And then once we come together, we are a one force that we can, it's more powerful. Secondly, one is to recognize the existing ones who are already there. And the next thing we should be working on is how can we create more women leaders from different disciplines? because I feel water leaders, more water leaders we can make, right? So because the thing is, as you say, we need decision making, we need a seat on the decision making table, and and what happens is we often get tied up with water expertise. No, it is not about water expertise. It is more about strategic understanding, and having that high level leadership thinking, vision. So these are the things that already exist in many other women leaders who may not be water experts. So the idea is that if we can engage them on the water issues, and that's why I felt Wiki was a very good platform. And I think something that you should consider is that now that you got the group together of all the people working in water, ideally Wiki stands for Indian Chamber of Commerce in Industry, right? So now imagine if you approach every industry, every company because they have as I was saying, water is an invisible enabler for everyone. So if we invited the women leaders within that organization to, share about the water challenges they have, and then we can kind of help them to resolve and maybe create a policy, whatever is required. We get the perspective from a user, from the end user perspective, right? Because if we can do that at the urban level, on the commercial industry, the companies, then that starts to create a diversity within the Wiki group. Now,
that's a very good idea.
There are people who are now from non-water background, but they are leaders, right? And they, in their own company, they have a water issue, so they can talk about it. Okay. And even if they're not directly aware, they will become aware because now they are a leader. And they will engage.
And also they are in the network then.
Exactly. And they will engage with a company's water person or whoever understands water to bring that issue and present it to us. Now they are getting their capacity built. So this is the way I feel that it can happen, that, like create a chain. A network effect. Yes.
Yeah, it's a step further, right?
Absolutely. Up level the next level of.
Yeah, it's a very good suggestion. I think we should take that into consideration, because these kind of networks takes time to grow, because it also depends on building trust and building,
absolutely, because
that rapport.
I was
the other go for collaboration. So
very true. And I was the other day I was attending this ASSOCHAM. You may be aware of this network, right? Yes. They are micro, small, and medium industries.
Absolutely.
And that would be a perfect association to engage with and say, invite their members to join you can create an MSME committee, women, talking about women water. So they can bring their women, nominate a woman leader from their company and get them to address the water issue. Bring them with them.
That's likely. And then now, it's opening up the network to other sectors, so that it's so that the network itself becomes enabler, so that women who are working in different aspects of water, they can go across and work on others.
And by the way, it doesn't have to be, they don't have to be working. That is what I want you to be careful. See, we want to identify women leaders.
Absolutely.
And then they engage with the water aspect within their company, because they want to present to us what achievements they might have done or what challenges they have within water, and what is their take on water that is happening around in urban sector or rural sector, whatever. So because see, everyone wants to participate. They don't have to have a water experience.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I meant the women from the Wiki Water Resource Council. They bring the water component like enabler to the women who are working in other sectors, and we can find out where are the synergies. How can
and women become the bridging. Problems. Correct. And then women from the companies become the bridge between Wiki and ASSOCHAM, right? On water issues.
Absolutely. I think these are very good suggestions from you, Bhakti. So that brings me to the last question here for today's conversation. But I know both of us can go on and talk about water. I think we sleep, eat, breathe, walk, talk water all the time. But let me take the last question with you, and it is intended with the whole idea that because we are talking about more women leaders in the water sector, and we want to get more women professionals. It's like pyramidal also. So if we have more women professionals, If we have more women students,
Yes.
then we have more women professionals. If we
Absolutely.
have more women professionals, then we have more leaders. So it's like a gradual
Absolutely.
increase in the number, and at the end of it, I mean, people like you and me are always, wishing that there are
Yes.
more women in the water sector.
Yeah.
Because then we have more alternate solutions to the male-dominated solutions, like
Yes.
engineered solutions, vis-a-vis more social science, more humanistic solutions to water.
Yes.
So my last question is actually for young girls who should be seeing water as a future sector or water as a good profession to join in. So that we have more, workforce, women workforce in the water sector.
Yes.
So what will be your message to the younger generation who would like to see opportunities in water sector?
That's a very good question. We need to think about what we call succession planning, right? To have more of the women. So, of course, apart from the talking to the industry themselves that, women need to be involved, we should work with the way the young people, I would like to tell is, look, water is definitely going to become a very important thing in the future as a profession also. Absolutely. Whether so you are better off, even though right now you may not see a career path clear cut, regardless of the discipline you are engaged in, water needs multidisciplinary people. So it doesn't matter what discipline you may have chosen, but try to engage with water on a voluntary basis. Find the community, any NGOs or network groups who are doing things around water, and start learning about who are the people who are working here. What are they talking about? What is the thinking in the water sector? So make yourself more aware and educated on this, because it is going to be big. So you will be kind of preparing yourself so that once you have developed that understanding, then you can start to take courses which are related to that and take up jobs, because we would like to have more of the communication experts working on water, for example. But then unless you develop an interest early on and prepare your mind and your heart to want to serve the water sector, these opportunities, even if they come, you won't see them. So start doing that, simply because it is going to be huge, and we may there'll be a lot of demand for this expertise, and you can become an expert once you've worked in that sector. So the idea is to develop that curiosity and nurture it by just doing voluntary activities and reading up and staying tuned and connected to the people who are vocal about water, and see what the industry is shaping to, and learn about it.
Oh, wonderful. You almost spoke my heart all through the conversation, Bhakti, but that's why we are soul sisters also.
Yes.
So I don't think if this conversation would have been different if you were asking me these questions.
I know. Very true.
That's the fun part of it. But
Absolutely.
Very important takeaway for the younger generation is that you don't have to be in the water sector, but as long as you are aware that future is actually going to put all of us into the water sector this way or that way, or through this network or that network, it is good to have your hands on into it through some means, I mean, that's important. And rightly mentioned by you, and that's also, I think, in our agenda here, the succession plan. More people join the water sector somewhere or the other, somehow or the other. Then we get more professionals. When we have more professionals, then and then only we can think of having more leadership out of it, because we are extremely short of leadership. But people like you definitely give us hope, and may you remain an inspiration to others, Bhakti.
Thank you.
We are really grateful to have learned from you about your water endeavors, and also your thoughts and ideas about it. You have so much of clarity, just like water.
Thank you.
Clear. And also the fact that you see life like flowing, just again like water. अविरलता में ही निर्मलता है.
Very true. Very true.
So we look forward to doing all these Monday munchings and really learn from more women like you. And we have been doing it now. We have crossed 30 sessions now with you.
Fantastic, I know.
Next Monday on 10th of April, we have Dr. Anindita Pujari from law faculty. So as you already see that we are having people from different disciplines already. And she works with Supreme Court. She's a lawyer there. So we are very keen to hear next Monday as well. So thank you so much, Bhakti.
Thank you.
conversation
All
and
the
also
best.
sharing everything that you think
Yes.
about water and about women in general. So please take care of yourself and see
Thank
you
you.
outside the session. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.